Today I am going to be going over what you need to start your home apothecary. What I have in front of me is just basic kitchen essentials that you probably already have. You just don't really realize that maybe you can use them different ways. And if you are missing these things, they're pretty inexpensive to get them. So I have 13 that I feel are essential must-haves for starting your home apothecary. And then I have 5 if you have the budget for them. They just make your life a lot easier, especially when you're starting out and starting all the things. And I will go over that when we get to those. So in front of me, I have, like I said, 13 of my must-haves, things that I definitely have used many times throughout the past several years. I have switched things out from what I started with into things that fit my personal style best, so keep that in mind. And I will have everything here linked in the description below, and there is also a blog post for this that's linked in the description below if you're somebody that likes printouts. And then I will also have a free printable checklist down in the description box below if that is your thing as well. So without further ado, let's start. So when you think of herbalism, when you think of home apothecary, you might think of all those beautiful jars filled with herbs. So the first thing that is a must is jars in varying different sizes. So I have here, this is a half-gallon mason jar. This is my fire cider right now, if you're wondering. And so I use it for things like big batches like this, but I also have lots of herbs stored in these size of jars as well. Then I have littler jars. So I use these little ones for projects. I use these for when I am harvesting and I don't really need to use a big jar yet. So this is just like the beginning of my calendula harvest. And then I have different sizes for, like, this is my oils. What is this? This is just a pint. So it's about 2 cups worth. And so that works for those. And then of course the quart-sized jars. This is what I generally use when I'm making tinctures, as this right here. This is actually what I just did today. So this is nice, having different sized jars. And then these are just fun, like the long cylindrical, I can't say that word, you know what I mean. But I just like them, they're fun. So definitely mason jars. You'll need them for so many things. And you really don't have to buy jars if you get spaghetti sauce, anything that comes in a jar. If you're able to clean it and sterilize it and preferably get the label off, but that's not even required, you can use those too, especially if you're on a really tight budget. Don't think that you have to buy mason jars specifically. You want to make sure that you're using glass as much as possible and not plastic. If that's something that will have to change for you over time, that's totally fine. Just know that you're not going to be wanting to store things in them long term, and you're not going to be wanting to use corrosive solvents necessarily if you're making tinctures, and if you're using like apple cider vinegar or anything like that, because things will leach out of them into what you're creating. So this is gold standard, but start where you're at. It's going to be better than nothing. So another thing is straining. So for example, when I'm done with and I need to strain my tinctures or my oils, you're going to need specifically cheesecloth. Cheesecloth is going to help make sure that you're getting all those little bits out. And with that, mesh strainers in varying sizes. I have many different sizes of these, but essentially this one I love because it's so little and it fits just right in the top of these. So I can pour something into it, like when I'm doing my syrups or something and I'm doing like a second strain. It's wonderful. These fit really well into like my glass jars, but this is going to catch those little bits that, especially in your oils, that can make it go rancid a lot faster. It's not so important in your tinctures because it's alcohol, but your oils especially, if that's something you're going to be doing. And it's relatively inexpensive. You can use nut bags if you have those, anything, but I'm pretty sure most people have at least one mesh strainer. So once you have strained your tinctures and strained your oils and everything else, you're gonna need little funnels in varying sizes depending on the size jar you're putting it into. So with the funnels in different sizes, it'll help you get them into tincture bottles. That is very important if you're going to plan on making tinctures. And then there are also, I have larger ones than this, but these are for funnels to go into the jars like this, and I have bigger ones. You might think if you're someone that does canning, there's the same thing essentially, so you may have one already. But it's really helpful to get herbs into the big jars, especially when you're making tea blends. So funnels in all shapes, sizes, very, very helpful. For sure, glass measuring cups. I have ones that are like 8 cups big down to 1 cup and so forth. And I have a lot of different ones of these. I use them all the time for baking as well. So they're definitely a very hard used thing in this kitchen and my apothecary. So these I would definitely recommend. And they're also really pretty if you are making a small tea batch and you can use it in like 4 or 8 cup. It's really pretty to watch as they layer. But that's just something that I like to look at and makes me smile. So keep that in mind. Don't ever think that you're gonna put something into a jar and remember what it is, because it's not gonna happen. So you need labels. There was another herbalist on here that you may know already that does these, and I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I love these because the little chalk ones, they're great and all, but they're a pain in the tushy to get off. Like absolutely horrible. And then she also has something like this and then something like this, which is really tedious turning around, but it's something that can come on and off really easily on your jars. I use the chalk for like my tincture bottles, because generally I'm gonna use it over and over for the same thing. If it's not like a custom, like a cute reason that I'm making it, if it's something that I use on a general basis, for sure. I also have like a label maker. I mean, if you're using old canning lids like this, underneath this one it says, I think pepper jelly. So you can write on your lids, you can write on your jars, whatever you do. Just make sure you're labeling it. Even if you're doing like wax paper like this, you might be able to label on it. I've never tried. It is kind of a slick surface, so I maybe wouldn't recommend that one, but label it. Just make sure you label it. This, I'm not concerned about. This would be my exception because I grew it, I harvested it. To me, it's very noticeable. It's calendula. So that is my advice. Label everything. I don't know, can you guys see this? There we are. Stainless steel stock pot of some kind. Especially if you're gonna be making syrups, decoctions, you're gonna need something. Maybe not necessarily this big, but at least a couple quarts, so you can put in, you know, a couple quarts of water and herbs. So I would say probably 3 quarts, because generally it's about a quart of water per 3 ounces of herbs. So take that into consideration. But I make big batches, large family. I also have a business. So this is actually my small one. But again, for me, this is dual purpose. I do have one specifically for the business, but this one would be dual purpose for my consumption of whatever I make. You really don't want to be using anything that is non-stick. I really hope that that's something that most people, especially if you're watching this video, already know. You do not want non-stick. You might be able to use like a ceramic cast iron. My experience is that especially if you're using like elderberries or something, it does stain it. So if that's something that bothers you, don't do it. But generally you're gonna want stainless steel. Ceramic could be good. I've done that before they broke. But yes, no, stay away There are brands out there that say that they're, you know, toxin free. I'm just waiting for the new toxin to pop up personally. So I steer clear of them. Do I sometimes go, maybe I'll try it? Absolutely. I miss nonstick. But for me personally, I just stay away. I'm gonna scoot over before the light hits me. The other really important thing is mixing bowls. Now, if you're gonna be getting like an 8-cup glass measuring jar, you might not need bigger mixing bowls depending on what you're utilizing. But I just made a tea blend for myself and my husband, and I started in the 8-cup and I ended up going to my 16-quart stainless steel bowl. I also use this for canning, so again, or large batch waffles, pancakes, things that I need a lot in. Popcorn, this is wonderful. So again, dual purpose. And this is relatively inexpensive. It's, I wouldn't say cheap, but it's, can you hear that? It's not very thick. So, and I actually have a bigger one. I have a 32 quart too as well. That one's definitely just for canning though. I don't think I'll ever mix anything that big. No, I did popcorn one year for a party. But I ended up pouring it out, the tea into this because I made a half gallon, and to mix it, it would have been spilling out the sides. So instead of crying at my spilled herbs, I just put it in here. So mixing bowls, they don't have to be this big. You don't have to. But again, glass is a really good one. I would show you the Pyrex ones, but they're all in use. So definitely mixing bowl, stainless steel, glass. That again, try and stay away from plastics, especially if you're adding heat to them, because that's when plastic releases their toxic chemicals. If you've followed my channel at all recently, you know how much I love my double boiler. Not even gonna lie, this does have a lid, I never use it. So if you don't know what a double boiler is, the bottom part holds water, and then you put this, and it's not necessarily touching the water, but the steam is hitting it, so it gently melts whatever is in here. Now you can do this with a stock pot of some size and put a glass bowl or something over it, as long as it fits nicely in there and it's not just kind of like floating around banging into things. So you don't necessarily need to buy an actual double boiler if you can make one at home. You can even put, what I've done in the past before I bought that, is I put stuff in the cups like this, and I put like a little towel on the bottom of the stock pot, and I put this on, and then the water was in here to about, you know, halfway simmering, and it does take longer that way. This way is so much faster. Blows my mind. Sometimes I walk away and think it's still going to be melting, and it's already done. But if you need larger batches, or you just don't have one, using something like this, again, dual purpose, it's wonderful. Natural wax paper, parchment paper, which is this. This is just leftover wax paper that I had and felt like using. But when you're doing things with vinegars, or if you're using old canning lids that may have BPA in them, you're gonna wanna cover them with, let's see if I can open this. There we go. You're gonna wanna cover it so that the vinegar does not corrode. Oh, that smells so good. If you're wondering, I do have a recipe in my blog, and I'll link below, for my fire cider. But I will be actually coming out with a new one this coming year, because I like this one and all, but I think I found a better one. Anyways, you don't want the vinegar to corrode the metal lid. So you just always want to make sure that you are covering. So like this one, this is vinegar as well. This is my digestion one. And I just didn't want it to corrode, and it is also an older one. See the pretty gold? So I put this there just to prevent any leaching. So actually, that's vodka. I put it there because of the leaching. There you go. So, wax paper, perfectly unbleached, as natural as possible. Mixing spoons. Stainless steel is good too. Again, try and stay away from plastic. I do have silicone as well. I just like my wood. Wood is just so much prettier to me. And when you're playing with herbs, yes, it's playtime. I feel like wood just complements it better. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being weird. You tell me, let me know. Tell me in the comments. Would you prefer wood with your herbs or silicone? So, but yes, you can use stainless steel if that's what you have, and chances are you already have mixing spoons that you can use if you want to keep them separate. For when I'm making salves and things, I definitely use my silicone because I can scrape it. If you see any of my other videos that have my salves and my lotions and sunscreens and things, you'll see that I'm using a silicone spatula. But for herbs and for using it when you're making a tincture, like smushing the herbs down or anything like that, I would not want to be using silicone. I like my wood and my stainless steel. Another really important thing, I'm gonna move my glasses out of the way here, is kitchen scales. Chances are you have a flat one, just like this. I use this one for my sourdough as well, but for herbs and such, you can use this one. And then recently found this one with a bowl. Let's see, can you see it very well? And the bowl just comes off, and it's just like this. It's nice because when I'm making like a small blend, I can just put it in the bowl instead of having to dirty up a measuring cup. Put it in the bowl, and it's wonderful. So I like this. It's nice. It is a little bit more expensive than the other one, probably about twice the price. So whatever you feel is necessary for your apothecary, and hopefully you can, I don't know if I can use this in the kitchen necessarily. Haven't come across that yet. It's brand new. We've only used it a couple times. But the flat one, this one, it's definitely going to be more versatile. So if you're on a budget, I'd probably go with this one. And then notebooks, pens. If you're anything like me, I like pretty colors. I have different colors, and for my herbal stuff, I like to be in the nature colors. Like this is kind of like an aquamarine, I guess, that I grabbed. I like writing in green, I like writing in brown. Again, it's just fun for me. But you can see these are my recipe books. And costs and things for everything, and you can see this one's a little beat up, and this one is beat up because of this one. That's what this is. So you're just gonna need things to keep records of. This is my new one that I just started using. I'm trying to transfer stuff from these over in here too. But you're gonna need notebooks. Go to the dollar store. If you want, Ross is a great place. I think that's actually where I got this one. Maybe even all of them at some point, for inexpensive notebooks that are pretty. Doesn't have to be pretty. You can keep it on a Word doc if you're someone who's more electronic. Believe it or not, I really prefer hand to paper. I still am, I don't know, maybe because I was born in the 80s, but I don't think I'll ever get over it. I still like a book in my hand. I don't like reading it. I will do Audible, but that's only because of busy mom. But there's something about the hand to paper, pen to paper memory that is just wonderful. So like in the herbal studies that I'm doing right now for my herbalism, I find that I gotta go back to my roots. Like when I went to nursing school, I have to sit there and write things out. I have to do little flashcards sometimes, but again, brain fog. It's just muscle memory for me. If I write something down, I can visualize it again. So you need these to keep notes. Something worked, something didn't work for you, what your recipes are, if you're tweaking them. I mean, mine are pretty written in. So again, this is also for the business. So I'm keeping like a bunch of notes for costs and everything along that. So a notebook, you're gonna want a notebook, at least one, maybe 10, whatever you can do right away, do it. So that is it for my top 13, I think. Did I forget anything? No. So yes, that is my 13 essentials to start your apothecary. You more than likely have at least half of these, unless you're also learning to cook from scratch. This still might be something that you're gonna have to aspire to, but we all start somewhere, right? So now I'm gonna move into my 5. If you can afford it now, jump on it. I think it'll make your experience that much easier. So let me grab those. So these are 4 of the 5. I'll start with the one I don't have right now because it is ginormous. I'll put a picture up, but it is the crock pot. I'm sure most people have a crock pot of some kind, but a crock pot can come in handy, especially if you are going to be heat infusing any of your oils, or even your glycerites, or vinegar ones too. You can put water in there, and then you can put a closed mason jar. So say this was oil, right here. I could put this in there with my herbs and the oil and just cap this and then put it in the crock pot on like warm. I wouldn't necessarily do low. Every crock pot is different, so learn your crock pot. You don't want your oil to get above 140 degrees. So just kind of keep an eye on it. But you just put that in there and you just keep adding water. You can still do it on your stove. Otherwise, if you don't have a crock pot, or you can also use it instead as a double boiler that way. If you don't have a double boiler, then just use the crock pot for your oils. It's the same thing. It's just that you don't have as much control over the heat. And then you can also do hot process soap in it. I do have a separate crock pot for mine because I'm just not comfortable putting lye in something that I'm going to be cooking in. But that's just me. And then another thing, especially if you are growing any of your own herbs, a grinder. So I have a coffee grinder here. This one has a couple different variations. So this has 4 blades. This one in here has 2 blades. So it would just depend on what you are grinding. For roots and stuff, I'd probably use the 4 blades. But makes it easy. Or if you're going to make a powder with your herbs from, say, leaf, this makes it a lot simpler. If you like getting back to basics, then a mortar and pestle. This thing is very heavy. Let's see, raw. So a mortar and pestle, you grind them up. They do have some nice wood ones. I wish I would have gotten a nice wood one, but there was something about this that I just really liked. Nice and heavy. But so you can have either or both. Just depends on what your mood is in, I guess, maybe. But I would probably prefer this at this point. I would use this if I just needed to like crush fennel seeds to release their oils a little bit before putting it into a syrup or a tincture or something. That's what I would use this for more. This I would definitely use for the powders. If you're gonna need something in a powder form, say you're gonna put it into a capsule to take internally. Like right now I'm taking ashwagandha and I'm putting it in capsules. I already have it in powder form. I'm not making my own because roots are really tough, unless I was growing my own. So I just bought it. But anyways, if you're going to do something like moringa powder or something and you're growing moringa and you want to grind it up into a powder to take, I would definitely do a grinder. You can also do a nut grinder instead, but I feel like this is more economical. You're not going to want to do coffee in this. No. This would just be for your herbs. And then, so this is a 16-ounce amber glass jar. I'm going to start switching my tinctures over to this once they are completed. Not when I'm putting herbs in, because this tiny little, this time, no. Just because it'll be easier to pour from. And because of the amber colored, it'll help keep my herbal products from degrading a lot faster. If you've seen any other videos, you'll know that I have in my living room, I have the bulk of my herbs in jars. Unfortunately, that's the only place I have to put them. I don't actually have like a separate apothecary space that would fit all of those jars. I do have my apothecary behind me in the laundry slash pantry slash apothecary, but my jars will not fit in there. I have a lot of my tinctures brewing in there, and I have all my finished tinctures in there. So this would also be a space saver because the footprint, obviously this is 32 ounces, 16. but the footprint is going to be a little bit different, especially after I strain this. See, brain fog. After I strain this, it's probably going to fit into this instead of having to keep it in a 32-ounce quart-sized jar. So space saving, but also the amber will help to prevent or lessen the degrading from the UV rays from the sun. Same thing with like the tincture bottle I showed you before. That's amber colored. They do have blue ones, which are kind of nice. So if you like that, go for blue. I actually do have some blue quart-sized jars too. They're quite expensive now though. Woo. So, and along those lines of making tinctures and things, let me move that over. They have these little, okay, I'm gonna butcher this name again, this thing, cylindral measurings, glass measuring, and this is 100 ml, 50 ml, and 10 and 5. And then these little, this is a kit I bought actually, and then like a 250, what is this, 80 and 40. So when you're making your recipes and say you wanted, this is feverfew, then this is going to be one of my main ingredients for a pain tincture, which is what I do make. And then I also use willow bark and California poppy. So I'm going to, if I'm going to just make it for myself, I'm going to grab my jar that I'm going to use. So like the 2-ounce or 60 ml tincture bottle that I just had. So I'm going to come over to my, probably my 100. And this, since I know I have 60 ml that I can put into my tincture, I'm going to formulate my recipe based off of this. So 3 herbs, if I'm doing equal parts, would be 20, 20, 20. And it would be relatively simple. And I can use one of these to pour into, and before pouring into here, or I can just pour into here. If I'm just doing equal parts, you do 20, 20, 20. So these are helpful. And then this is a little pour spout on it, and you put the little funnel, and there you go. Pretty simple. So these are very, very helpful. Have I lost you yet? Is this all a little too overwhelming? Again, you should have most of this, and this last 5 things really, they're not necessary. They just make your life easier. I mean, you really don't need this. You can do it with your scale and a little, you know, little cup on there. Use a little measuring cup, use tablespoons, whatever, because if you're doing it 1 part, 2 part, 3 part, you make up whatever the part is. And if you know you have 60 mLs to go for, it's pretty standard. These are definitely not necessary, but they're nice. And I just want to remind you, there will be the free printable checklist with all of this on there, and you can get that in the description box below. And then the blog post for this is on there too, if you just need to go back and remember things. But now let me go over some of the ingredients that you may want to make sure you have on hand if you're going to start making things. First and foremost is going to be high quality oils, specifically like olive oil, jojoba oil, sweet almond oil, avocado oil. What else? I think those are my favorites. Coconut oil. Ooh, almost forgot that one. You can infuse coconut oil. It just rehardens if it's cool enough. But making sure you're having good sourcing. Another ingredient is beeswax. The pastils are a must if you're going to do any salves. Sometimes lotions, balms. Yeah, you need beeswax. If you're doing the vegan option, then you're going to want I'm going to butcher this name, Candelia wax. I'll put that below. To harden your products. So same thing with like my apple cider vinegar. You're going to want raw apple cider vinegar. Raw gives you those pre and probiotics for your gut. So if you're doing things like fire cider, if you're doing vinegar type tinctures, extractions, then you're going to want that as well, just to add to it. Especially if you're doing something for your gut, like why not enhance it just that much more? You're going to want a good, preferably local if you can, raw honey, because again, syrups and just, you can make oxymels with it. You can do a lot of things with the honey, and if you make sure it's raw and you take care of it well, like you don't put it into boiling hot water to kill the properties, you'll be fine. And for your teas as well, like having that raw honey is gonna give you just that little bit of oomph to it for your infusions, your decoctions, all of those things. And then you're gonna also want some good quality herbs that you feel are gonna be really available to you, whether you're growing them in your backyard or you can go to the local market for them, or if you just wanna order them online. My favorite place is Mountain Rose Herbs. I can put their link below. But some of the herbs that I definitely recommend that you start with would be things like lavender, calendula, chamomile, peppermint, your basics. Whatever you have growing in your yard, if you have mullein this time of year, plantain, comfrey. I'm on the East Coast, so I don't have a horrible, and I'm in a really sunny place, so a lot of my stuff dies really fast. Elderberry, definitely, you can use the flowers, you can use the berries, but that's about it with that plant. Feverfew, that's what this is. Again, I just harvested the leaves and I have some flowers. So yeah, learn to forage, so buy some of those books, and I'll go over that on another video on my favorite books and different ways to forage and plant identification, and learning to spot that when you go out is so much fun. Like when I go out and walks with my kids and we like to look and find things, and it's a lot of fun. So I hope that this was helpful for you, not overwhelming. I hope that I've kind of given you a little bit of a drive to just use what you have and kind of pick and choose different things that you may not have that you might find necessary for your herbal home apothecary journey. Again, I will have all this listed in the link below, and the free printable checklist and the blog post. And then also check out my other videos. I do have some other Herbalism 101 for beginners on different things that you could use, different ways to do things. I have a tincture video below that I do have a tincture video that I can put below. And just let me know in the comments if there's anything specific else that you would like to know as a beginner. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.